Hello and welcome. This is a TRBusiness featured interview. I'm here with CEO and founder of M1st-Set, Peter Mohn. Thank you for coming and speaking to us today. Recently we have published some findings from a very important survey which TRBusiness and M1st-Set worked on together, and I for one think the results are illuminating, possibly a little bit controversial in some people's opinions, but nonetheless really, I think it's been a really important tool for the industry to see how travellers actually feel about the Ebola crisis and how that might affect their travel plans. I just wanted to ask you what you thought was probably the most interesting or illuminating piece of data that came out of that survey, in your opinion.
I was personally also quite surprised about the high amount of people who were reconsidering their travel plans due to the Ebola outbreak, and I was especially surprised about the difference in the regions.
Yes.
That in Asia seems to be very sensitive about it, and also Middle East and Africa, which is for obvious reasons. And it was actually a bit lower in the US than I thought. I thought that the culture was a little bit more, would react stronger to that, but they didn't. But overall I was quite surprised the number was that high.
Yes. What I also found quite interesting was younger travellers. When it comes to the airport screening measures, they're much more positive about the process, and they believe that it's going to actually be quite effective in terms of detecting Ebola and whatnot, and that might be related to the fact that they trust modern technology more than the older travellers. That was also the case for business travellers as well, which again I found quite interesting. What was also quite positive to come out of this was passengers, business travellers again, felt that the airport screening process wasn't going to affect their airport behaviour too much. I think it was between 70 and 80%, so the majority of travellers said airport screening measures won't affect my airport behaviour, and including is obviously shopping for duty-free products.
Yes, which is important, yes. For us.
And I guess the industry will take, it's a good indicator for the industry anyway.
It is. That was the good news of the survey, so to say.
Exactly. There is some good news there. Exactly.
Yes, but I would fully agree with you that it seems like the younger generation and the business travelers who are very comfortable with smartphones and all kind of technical devices, they seem to trust it more, and they seem quite positive about it. And I assume that many travelers think that the screening is just part of the routine at the airport, so it probably won't have so much impact on the time available at the airports. So I was a little bit surprised about that too, but that's kind of good news.
Yes, of course. And we're also doing some research on Middle Eastern shopping habits and behaviours, and that research is due to come out in the November issue. Can you tell us what you've observed so far doing that research, and if those observations have changed too much within the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, we're especially looking into the differences between the nationalities, the most important nationalities. And obviously the motivations and the triggers for buying are very different, and I'm always surprised to see, although we're all human beings and more or less the same, how different they can be if you look at different nationalities and their cultures. So we have some very interesting results to share with you then later this month, or at the beginning of next month. And then what I see, something that's coming up more and more, is that the travelers seem to have a stronger need for the sense of place and have a feeling of a local identity. That's they're seeing that the airports are looking more and more alike, and they really appreciate the fact that there's a certain, they know where they are when they're traveling, that they have a feel. It could be the ambiente, the music, the setup of the shop, and that seems to be something that becomes more and more important. Right. And it's, I would say, around 3 out of 4 roughly find it either very important or important that there's a local atmosphere at an airport. So I think that's something the Trinity has to really consider.
Yes. At the TFWA World Exhibition and Conference, Eric Mortensen mentioned that there is now more than ever a need for sort of more affordable price points at the airport, and there is lots of mid-market opportunities. Is that what comes out of your research that you're doing at the moment? Do travellers want these sort of lower priced items, and is there a tendency for all partners in the airport, all stakeholders to over premiumise things?
There's definitely, for a certain segment which is growing, because the growing middle class also, they find that it's over premiumized and that the products are too expensive partly, and that's why they partly don't even go into the shop, because they might buy an expensive sandwich or a drink and then see the luxury products in the shops, so they don't even bother going inside the shop. And we often see that as the main reason why the footfall is so low. Usually half the people don't even enter the shops.
Because they're intimidated.
Yes, they're intimidated, and they realize that. And I think with much more low-cost carrier flights, with middle class growing strongly in India and China, etc., they will be a very important target group. So it will be important. And also, just recent research I conducted for TFWA also showed that, for example, in Argentina, many people do not go into the shop because they say there are not enough affordable products.
Right.
So Eric is completely right. It's really becoming a problem if it's going further that direction.
Yeah. And finally, you've been in this business for a long time. Are there observations that you make that crop up quite regularly that you find retailers, airports, suppliers don't listen enough to? And does it surprise you that, and probably upsets you or irritates you slightly, that they don't listen to?
Yes, absolutely, and they come up all the time again. And also, some things are just very basic. Just how to communicate, and or just to train the staff accordingly to be empathetic and to approach the customer, which are very basic aspects. And they're still very often, we see that maybe 5 or 10 or 15% of the people said, I didn't buy anything because I was dissatisfied with a sales advisor. And those are just basic things. I think the aspect regarding sufficient promotions is working very well, because there are always segments always just going to the shop because they want to find promotions. But there are certain aspects that are still kind of ignored, which I find a pity.
Yeah.
Because we all spend a lot in presenting our brands and our products. And then some, and also regarding the liquor allowances, and people don't buy certain products because they don't know what the situation is where they're traveling. And with good signage or maybe interactive media to give information how this could be, or train the staff, it could solve a lot of problems and increase the conversion rates.
And I know for one, that's one thing that puts me off, making those purchases at the airport. So if you and me are feeling that way, then it probably is the same for others out there as well.
Yes, and we are well-traveled people, and exactly. Imagine those who only travel once or twice per year. They're insecure and they don't really know how to react on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your no doubt busy schedule to come and talk to us today. And,
you're welcome.
We look forward to releasing that research on Middle Eastern shopping habits and behaviours shortly.
Thank you.